Howdy y'all, and welcome back to Join Dota League Season 5 here on HeflaTV 2. This is going to be Game 2 of a Best of 2 series between Together We Did It and Boreal Esports. I'm Grandis here on HeflaTV 2, and I'm pretty sure I've said that before, but either way, this is going to be another interesting game, hopefully. Together We Did It started out the game pretty solidly, and they end up building themselves towards a 10,000 gold advantage in game number 1, but end up just stalling out, and they lose one fight, and from there it's just all off the rails for them. Boreal Esports, after winning that fight, they seem to play everything as close to perfectly as you can. They make good rotations throughout the map. They know when they're the stronger team, and they can take those fights, and they consistently do it over and over and over again. At the end of the game, 747 completely unstoppable on the Slark. Not to understate any of the performances coming out from either of the supports, finding good timings on their Aghanim Scepters, and all around, Boreal Esports just having a really good game after the 25-minute mark in particular. They'll start the draft in game number 2, Boreal, with an axe pickup for them, and Together We Did It, going to give them a taste of their own medicine with the Disruptor. A support that has been here and there seeing some play, but certain teams do give him a lot of credit, and I think that credit is definitely worthwhile. We saw how effective it was in game number 1, especially with those static storms in combination with the Magnus. It really was pretty darn sick, but even just by himself, Disruptor offers utility that really isn't paralleled by any other support. Glimpse is an amazing spell, and just having an AoE silence, it's pretty darn crazy, especially once you get that Aghanim Scepter up. If you ever do, it's pretty much an AoE do. It's ridiculously good. For now, we'll have to see what TWDI are going to round this out with. And maybe it is some sort of deny pick, not wanting to give away Axe and Disruptor. You can't just drop the Static Storm Kinetic Field on top of 3 called heroes, and it ends up being really nasty for whoever is involved in that mess. So maybe they have something else in mind, but it looks pretty solid for both teams right now. Axe was banned out in the first game, if I'm not mistaken, in place of the IO. We aren't going to see that, and Boreal Esports just going to give respect to Together We Did It, and they're more comfortable opener. If you're going to go for an IO Tiny first, you probably are pretty comfortable with it. Although the performance in game number 1 wasn't stellar, it's something that's really hard to count out. If they were just given a little bit more space, and I really mean just a little bit more, there could have been an opening for TWDI. Batrider going to follow up for this Disruptor. The Disruptor, in this sense, is going to be secured by the Disruptor pickup, making sure that they don't have that glimpse to break the, or to send the Batrider back after he jumps in. But then again, you still have a Vengeful Spirit on the table for Boreal Esports if they want to snag it up to break that coil. And honestly, I don't think there's a better support there that Boreal could be looking for. Offers some nice minus armor synergy with the axe. Point click disable, way to stop the enemy initiation. What more can you ask for? It really seems like it's really good, but maybe Boreal have something else in mind, and hopefully something a little bit more off the wall and fun for us. As Vengeful Spirit is starting to get, I can't really say boring. It is a very interesting hero to watch, but definitely something that we're accustomed to. Unfortunately, another hero that we are very accustomed to is going to be the Viper, the flying poison snake sausage biscuit. I'm not exactly sure what this thing is, but it is a pain to lane up against, and really there's not a hero that outright wins against him in most situations, if any situation at that. There are some heroes that can trade evenly, but really you don't expect to outlane the Viper on even skill footing, that is. I would expect Together We Did It to ban out that Vengeful Spirit I was talking about earlier. Even though Boreal Esports didn't pick it up in the second pick, it's still something that they probably don't want to deal with. That counter initiation coming out from the Venge swap can be really detrimental, as you do rely entirely on the Flaming Lasso as a Batrider. Although the extra damage from Firefly is nice, some extra control from Sticky Napalm, it's really lasso or bust. That's what makes that hero so special and so useful for your team. That and his ability to farm in jungle. Similar to that of the Axe, just having that nice blink initiator that can ensure that he gets that blink up. But yeah, we'll just have to see. For now, it's going to be Lycan taken out by them and a Faceless Void banned out by Boreal. Even though Faceless Void doesn't combo directly with Batrider and Disruptor, although you can drop a Static Storm Kinetic Field on top of a Chrono, usually you'll do that afterwards to follow up the Chrono, or maybe even before, and they'll Chrono on top of it. So, well, we'll see. Yeah, Ancient version banned out by Boreal Esports, maybe looking towards a Necrophos for themselves, but more than anything, just a really solid ban. Would offer a lot of magic damage towards TWDI, as well as global ganking potential with the Batrider. Can't be something that's underestimated, and you don't get that from very many support heroes. Together we did it, going to be considering their next couple of bans and probably next couple of picks. They're going to eat again through the reserve time very heavily in this second picking and banning stage, and it's up to team preference whether they want to do this. Right now, it kind of feels like Boreal know what they want and are going to be able to pick that up towards their benefit. Slark banned out, and it's a pretty solid ban in and of itself, but after the Game 1 performance of Slark coming out from Boreal, definitely something that deserves their respect and will be taken away. They do have the Disruptor, which is pretty nice to have up against the Slark. Ways to lock him down even through the Shadow Dance, as well as the Batrider just get some really hard disable onto him. It doesn't really matter. Slark is still a slippery fish, and in the right hands can completely go ham. Together we did it. Since they didn't ban it out, I'm still going to come back to that Venge, but maybe this is a game where it's just going to be completely ignored, even though in my opinion is one of the greater supports in the current metagame. I, for one, really like playing Venge, and I think it works well, but instead it's going to be Rubik for them. Right now, the spells to steal are not the greatest. It's always fun to watch a Rubik steal Coaling Blade, and it's very reliable to get your hands on the Viper Strike, but it kind of feels like they just want some sort of instant disable. Boreal Esports going to pick up a Morphling for themselves, and kind of similar vein to the Slark, a nice mobile carry that can contribute in the mid-game. It gets very scary with items, although not as much. Does want to have a little bit more space than the Slark to work with. Together we did it, not without answers for this Morphling. Definitely feels like it's going to be some sort of Lincoln Sphere build for the Morph, as you are dealing with the Batrider on the enemy team, and it indeed is going to be that Necrophos. The Ancient version was secure the Morphling pickup for Boreal, making sure that they don't shut down the Strength Morph once you get Ice Blasted to the face, but this really isn't the safest of Morphling games. You have an instant lockdown spell coming out from the Rubik, and AoE Silence from the Disruptor, and then Reaper's Scythe to seal the deal. Morphling is going to need a lot in order to work effectively in this game. If he is able to get up a handful of major items without being punished too heavily, Lincoln Sphere Ethereal Blade, if he's able to get that at a good timing, can be extremely scary for these four heroes in particular, just with their limited health pools, if nothing else, and not really wanting to build into a BKB that early on. But we'll just have to see how this all works out for them. I have my reservations about the Morphling, and I would have liked to see them wait towards last to pick that up, but still going to be a very nice asset in their team. Lich going to be the pickup for Boreal, and they're just going to buckle down these lanes, and I think that's a pretty solid way to do it. Their lane control is very strong. All of these heroes are self-sufficient laners. The Axe, Viper, Morphling are more than capable of taking a lane by themselves, and even though Rubik and Disruptor are annoying, poking at you constantly, Axe can always go back in the jungle if that's ever the case, and especially with Lich backup, the Axe really isn't going to be stopped, and honestly, I don't see Together We Did It doing much about that. As nice as it is to have a laning Disruptor on your side, his ganking power is pretty limited. Let's just put it frankly. There's not much that he actually offers. Glimpse at early levels is a nice setup, but his damage is lackluster. Lion going to be banned from TWDI, and a good one it is too. That support really has been seeing so much play, but again, Vengeful Spirit, I mean, it really is such a good hero, and I think it probably is the best pick for Boreal to take at this point. If it wasn't banned out, am I just completely missing something? I'm okay, so I'm not. I actually just looked at all the bans, and maybe I'm just super tired. Spectre, the last ban coming out from Boreal Esports, they want to make sure that they have late game supremacy, and might be something that they're able to ensure, unless TWDI goes super deep, but then again, that could be very heavily punished once Axe's Blink Dagger comes online and a potential mech from the Viper. Alrighty then. So for TWDI, it's going to be coming out very quickly, whatever this last pickup is going to be for them, and what they settle on, we'll just have to wait and see. They're pretty open. Their Batrider is probably going to be heading towards the offlane. Necrophos can safely inform or take up the mid position. It is going to be a PA for Together We Did It. But it's not a very comfortable PA game, I must say. There's a lot of tools that Boreal have to kite around the Phantom Assassin, Viper Strikes, poison attacks here and there, Axe Calls, Morphling waveforming over the top. Lich Armor is not to be underestimated when dealing with PA. That physical damage mitigation is huge, and even with a little bit of extra attack speed coming out from the Blink Strike, it's not enough to completely overwhelm it. Really, it doesn't feel like Phantom Assassin fits perfectly unless Together We Did It find good momentum, and they really need to find a way to keep that. Last game, once their balloon got popped, they were starting to blow it up. There was just no way that they could patch it. It was completely downhill from there. And, well, for last, it's going to be Boreal picking up an Abaddon to round out their lineup, and really, I like this pick. Although it's not the Vengeful Spirit I was talking about earlier, it's equally as good at stopping the Batrider from getting his lasso off and will enable Boreal to play very aggressively. Even though not a good killing hero by himself, he allows the axe to go ham, which is exactly what the Doctor ordered for 747. He's going to be playing on that axe, rocking a very badass and expensive set on his hero. Tiburon going to be playing in the Morphling, presumably going towards the mid lane. Schwan on the Abaddon. And the Lich. I apologize again for your name. Alukni on the Lich. I have no idea how to say that. KPH on the Viper, a much more friendly name. Top lane, we're going to have Jipples on the Batrider. Mid lane, Nekavos, going to be handled by Taku. Going to make a return performance on that hero. And safe lane, Tri-lane for TWDI is going to be one or Mario on the Disruptor. Gix on the Phantom Assassin. And finally, we lost GG on the Rubik. They'll look towards these early bounty runes as a team, and with a 4-man rotation up towards here, it looks like they should be able to secure it, although we might be in for a little bit of a bloodbath. Neither of these teams have great level 1 heroes. If you go for the Death Pole, it's going to be after the Necrovos to start things off. It really doesn't do much. They'll lay the Disruptor out as bait. Maybe they're confident that they can actually take a fight, but it's close. I mean, there really isn't any spell that's going to vastly tip the scales into either side. No Chilling Touch, no Howl, no great disables at level 1 for anybody involved. In fact, Waveform is probably the best spell, and he actually didn't go for it. It's going to be the Morph. Boreal are still going to get this bounty rune, however, as TWDI are a little bit tentative going towards that spot, but Axe might be able to get the one down towards bottom, and will do so. Alrighty then, Boreal going to start things off with a pretty nice 200 gold, 200 experience advantage towards their side, and, well, yeah, just going to be flatlined right there. Okay then, Boreal going to settle down their lanes. Axe going to be solo up against the Batrider, and although he does need to be careful not to get too many stacks of the Napalm onto him, he does start things off with the stick, as he does get that extra gold from the bounty rune, and now inside the lane is going to be more or less comfortable. He'll have a Lich behind him too. The Abaddon Viper off lane is going to be a constant thorn in TWDI's side. They will be able to zone out the Viper, at least at these early levels, pretty effectively and be a nuisance towards him. They're actually going to lift him up, pull him back, but the damage just isn't there to finish him off, especially with a Miscoil being thrown up by Schwan. This is going to show off that they don't have a shield at the ready for the Abaddon, but I don't think that's going to matter much. This is probably the lane we're going to look at mostly. Tiburon in mid, starting out with a very low amount of HP, is going to both benefit and harm him. The right-click harass coming out from the Necrophos is going to stick a lot more aggressively onto him, but then again, when you have less HP, the percentage-based spell of Art Step Order is going to be mitigated, but no! Batrider is going to die 9 stacks of Napalm on the Axe. Are you kidding me? Again, it's not a lane that I expected to actually get a kill, but it does. Holy cow, I suppose that's well baited by 747. It hasn't happened to me in the longest time that I missed First Blood, but it just so happens that today's the day that I miss it twice. Sorry guys, apologies. But this Axe is well primed to have a huge impact in this game, and now with level 2 Jipples probably should end up going back towards the jungle. I mean, right now this Batrider isn't going to be able to get that much, and risk dying again. I don't know, we'll see. He might be able to stick around a little bit longer, but sooner rather than later he's going to be doing that. Viper up towards top with the backup from Schwan. They're going to be able to find We Lost GG, and eating a Miscoil to the face. This Rubik is super low. Not low enough, however. It's actually the Necrophos in mid, fighting up against Tiburon. One more right click from TT would be enough, but can't actually find it. Death Pulse is a little bit too scary for him, and Death Pulse could have turned around for the Necrophos, although I don't think it would have. It is going to be respected by the Morphling, as he's currently only sitting on 200 HP. Bounty rune up to its top, going to be secured by the Rubik, as Lich gets the double damage in the bottom lane. And potential rotation coming out from We Lost GG, but what's this actually going to be able to do? They have a lift, and they will be able to drop a Death Pulse, but with no mana for Death Pulse, this rotation doesn't feel like it's going to be able to get a kill, or even close to it, especially when the Lich has the same idea. Double damage rune, chunking down Taku, and they will be able to bring him down. Now We Lost GG looks like he's going to be losing his life as well. Boreal might be starting things off 3-0 if they can connect with this Rubik. They just need one more right click from that Lich that they can't actually find. Rubik going to make it towards his own side of river, but the Lich isn't done yet. He's outspeeding him. He'll Frostblast him once, and We Lost GG. Deny yourself to neutrals. He fade bolts. and will be killed off by the neutral creep. Going to take the express route back towards the base, but still a lot of pressure put out by that lich, and not something that you necessarily expect. Not as flashy as a double damage tree, but still incredibly scary. I don't really think that Rubik rotation was going to get them anything, really, and I think he probably would have been better spent up towards top, but maybe Rubik just is having a hard time finding a home. We lost GG really isn't complicating much wherever he goes, and that's not necessarily his fault, just the hero isn't able to do much. Batrider finds himself as level 4, but after making a fresh trip back towards base, I think it's probably pretty safe to assume that he won't come back down. Never mind. He's actually just going to go back down to this bottom lane. As long as the Lich isn't here, I think it's fine. Never mind, I'm absolutely stupid. It's fine, unless Jipples gets spun down one too many times. 747 gets one, but not in range of Jipples. He is going to be able to survive. And top lane, again, is going to be where we set our sights. The Abaddon Viper is doing just fine in this lane. They're not shutting down the Phantom Assassin, but at the very least, they're putting pressure and getting farm on the Viper themselves. Yeah, it's another game where not a lot of rotations because of these support picks. Taku going to be chunked down by Tiburon, my goodness. And we'll get a Death Pulse off in return and trade a couple blows towards the Morphling, but still more flexing his muscles. If Necrophos gets a little too cocky in this lane, could be in for a nasty surprise. Bottles is up for both of them. Go towards KBH up in top, healed up by the Abaddon. Will be able to glimpse him back, however, and now is in a huge bit of trouble. Will be daggered once and then right-click down by the creeps of all things. TWDI not able to get that last hit on any of their heroes. Jipples, they look to take a fight with 5 seconds in napalm inside the Firefly. Batrider needs to be careful, but no, Dunk is going to put an end to all of that. Level 6 was up for the axe, and it looks like Batrider just didn't get the memo. Very overzealous from him. He just took a little too much damage from the creep wave, and 747 just going to be able to chop him down. And this axe currently can't really be stopped. This is going to be 7-minute or less Blink Dagger, I want to say, at the current rate that he's farming heroes and creeps. Boreal, they're looking good in pretty much every single one of their lanes. Their only death was that suicide, I believe. Or, no, that was Disruptor. Can I even speak? Can I even think, rather? Who knows? Either way, back to the state of things. Axe going aggressive on the Taku as he's made his way down towards bottom. Can anybody actually fight 747? This is not something that you're supposed to be able to do at 5 minutes in. Just casually walk behind the tier 1 tower and run after a hero. But, you know, Axe doesn't obey the rules. He's just going to go whole ham. 1 point into Battle Hunger, 3 into the spin. I think this build is completely acceptable for him. He'll even drop the Tranquil Boots, feeling so comfortable inside this lane. He just looks for a little bit more sustain. Nothing Necrophos can actually do. He's not close enough to look for a deny, and his projectile speed's not fast enough to snipe it before he picks it up. Disruptor has also made his way down towards bottom. They bring in the Rubik. Leaving their Phantom Assassin up top is not a move that I really like from TWDI. It's going to be apparently obvious. And is it actually going to get them a kill? Maybe I eat my own words. The Lich is going to be spotted out to get the vision. They have a glimpse available. Going to lift him up. The damage just isn't there for these two supports, however. And Axe is coming in from the sidelines. So glimpse back and might be able to get the Lich. They will be able to do so with the Death Bolt flying through, but it's going to be at the cost of 1 or Mara. They just need a little bit more damage. He doesn't seem to want to spend the dunk, or maybe he does. If I've ever seen an Axe that is so reserved and so careful as to not dunk him. Oh, well, never mind. 747 is going to have enough of that. Good day, sir, as he kills off the Disruptor. Going to chase after Taku, and we lost GG as well, but this time around, doesn't have a lot of mana. Call going to miss, unfortunately. Taku turns around for Death Pulse, but the healing coming out from the Abaddon is too much. He now has mana for the ultimate, and they have Tiburon flying through with the waveform over the top and the breaking of the shield. Taku dropping low. Almost low enough into dunk range. We're about to see a head roll. And it's going to be Taku's, unfortunately for him. They bring in the Batrider from the sidelines, going to drop some napalm, and maybe Taku is going to live this... excuse me. Molder another day. I'm not sure where I was going with that, but he is going to live. As is the Batrider, coming in from the sidelines with a couple of napalms. Boreal going to continue down in the bottom lane, but still in the meantime, their Phantom Assassin is being pressured by the Viper. 1v1 PA. It doesn't really do much up against this Viper with only 1 point in the blur at this point, as per usual. Only gets the CS from every so often with that stifling dagger. And 5 and 2. Boreal is still looking pretty solid, and this Axe is going to be getting that Blink Dagger a little bit later than I expected, but still going to be completely fine. After running around and not getting those kills, I suppose it's to be expected, but it is going to be coming out at sub 8 minutes, which is great timing for 747. It is going to be very scary for TWDI to deal with. Creeps down in the bottom lane are not going to stand very long up against this Axe. As bad is going to look to spot out the Saban and Rune, but currently being sat on by Disruptor. It looks like Disruptor is going to be one to secure it at the very least. Up in the top Rune spot, they are potentially going to bump into Tiburon, but with Stick Charge as well as Strength Morph, there's no way they actually kill him. No lasso is available as they already spent it seems, to try and kill off Tiburon. He's currently fully Strength Morph. And, well, 1,000 HP, going to be able to walk casually back towards his own base. The Abaddon might not be so lucky. Schwann's just looking to pick up a little bit of experience. If he shows his face, he might be in some trouble. But even then, not enough. The Agility Morph's going to come out from the Morphling, dropping him a little bit low inside the base, but completely comfortable, as now they bring in 747, fresh Blink Dagger. And, well, for now, nobody's going to get spotted out by that, but it could be disastrous if they do. A 3-man call is pretty much a death sentence at this point in the game, with no major armor items coming out from anybody. The Vandal Assassin's a little bit more survivable, but even then, not enough. They'll look for wraparound. Large one onto KVH, and it looks like he's gotten a little too comfortable into this lane. It is going to be spotted out by the Disruptor. They have everybody here, and KVH is going to get scythed up and drop down. Necrophos finds himself a kill, and we'll get him some fresh stacks of that status. Yeah, when the entire enemy team is missing off of the map, farming halfway towards their tier 1, probably not the greatest of ideas. Maybe was expecting to go for a gank on mid or bottom, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but TWDI, at least they get something in return for giving so much farm in space to Boreal. And how much farm in space, you ask? Right now the advantage is currently 3,000 gold in the favor of Boreal, and their experience is also looking a pretty similar graph. This game around, they didn't need to start things off on the same foot. They're starting that snowball, and they're starting it now. Blink Dagger has yet to be shown off by the Axe, which is unfortunate when you get such an early Blink Dagger on the Axe. You'd like to see him go super aggressive and just chop down the entire enemy team, but we might be seeing that just now. There's an opportunity here for potentially a 3-man call if they're sticking in the same sort of situation. Axe is running after them. They're currently grouped up over in the sidelines, but Axe can't find an angle, and he is going to pull back. 747 mops up a creep wave with all from his friends. But things are still going well for Boreal. The status quo is nice for them. Even after losing their Viper, they're still going to get the mechanism up at a decent time. And I kind of talked about in the draft how this is really a scary part of the game for TWDI, especially since they don't have the Blink Dagger up for the Batrider. In fact, are very far away from it. Even though it got good experience of lane, Jipples wasn't able to farm as effectively as she would have been inside the jungle, and that's really scary. Usually I'd like to be at least thinking about completing a Blink Dagger on the Batrider. At the very least, he has one large stack up in the large camp over on the side, but that's not enough in and of itself. Two supports showing you mid. For TWI, Blink Call onto the Disruptor. Rubik just standing there, getting pinged out by the Disruptor. Premature dunk by the Axe, but they'll still be able to secure a dominating spree for 747. I'm not sure if a lift or anything would have done anything, but at the very least, throw it out. I mean, it can't hurt, right? Necrophos dropping low as he jungles up some creeps. He's going to survive, but if anybody as much as breathes on him, he'd fall. Boreal are going to ride this momentum towards the mid lane as they'll look towards the tier 1 tower, and they should be able to take it pretty handily, too. Well then, tier 1 tower is going to be pressured, dropped down to about half health as Boreal aren't going to meet any opposition here. Together We Did It are just trying to buy enough space for Jipples to get that Blink Dagger up, and he is getting to it ever so closely. And Phantom Assassin gets some more space. I'm not sure what build you go for on Jix this game. It really feels like you need a lot, in all honesty. You want a BKB just to stop the damage coming out from Lich at this point, as well as even from the Waveform and the Viper Strike damage. It's really adding up and being very annoying for Jix to deal with. Then again, you want some sort of aggressive way to actually fight into the enemy team. I just don't really see what it's going to be. It looks like it's just going to be a Basher Rush from the Phantom Assassin. Although ballsy, I kind of like this play. I think it's a necessary evil. If he doesn't go for some damage, how do they actually fight? TWDI, they're not sitting on a Necrophos like last game. They had a Midas at a great timing at this point, was almost rocking a Dagon, or at least getting very close to it, and TWDI, they're going to look to get out of this funk by smoking up and trying to catch out somebody inside the jungle. I'm not sure if they spotted eyes on the Morphling yet, but Tiburon seems to know that something's up. He'll make it over down towards the south, and under his tier 1 tower. I don't think they're going to be able to get this kill as long as he makes himself scarce over in the woods. The Firefly has been previously spent by the Batrider, but yeah, without that available, he's going to be just fine. And in fact, looks like he is going to find himself a nice little nook. Tiburon over in the sidelines. They bring in some support. Abaddon TPing to the front lines of his fight. They don't have an axe here, and Schwann is going to take an express trip back home as he's glimpsed back towards the rest of his team, and Morphling now going to bring in one. After forcing out that jump, they might be able to turn and fight with the Viper TPing into the front lines. Kinetic Field's there. The Axe is going to blink forward. He doesn't find a target to stick on. It looks like right now that's going to be about it. 747, blink cooling down for a while. Can't actually find anybody to stick on to. An interesting play by Boreal, throwing the Abaddon there first to bait out the throwback coming out from the Disruptor to keep all of their more important heroes safe. It doesn't actually end up working for them, as TWDI don't actually take that fight. But it's tier 2 tower on bottom, not going to be so lucky. Boreal is going to be able to pressure this one with all the rotations. You might as well stick around, especially when you have a double damager on Tiburon. And it feels like this series, especially, there's been so many DDs, or at least at crucial times. Tier 2 tower down towards bottom is going to be given up, but not entirely freely. They'll lose half damage on their tier 1 tower in mid, but nothing damning. TWDI are going to look for the wraparound. They could be able to find it very effectively onto Mario and company, and it looks like this Disruptor might just be dead. We'll see. He is going to go back towards his friends and Jipples as well as the Necrophos, and let's see if they're actually smoked up. No, Boreal are just going to continue the snowball. It's reminiscent of the snowballing meta of yestermonths. They'll be able to put it together and now just start barreling down the mid lane. Mechanism up for the Viper. Why stop? TWDI do not have the ability to actually take fights on their own terms, and their best tool is a lot less scary inside the team fights when you have a Abaddon behind you. Purging off that Batrider lasso makes it pretty much a moot point. They actually can't start anything on their own terms, and they don't have a follow-up for it either, and it's a Midas build from the Necrophos. It was the same build as last game, but last game he was pretty much free farming, and this is completely a catch-up Midas. Stack Storm Kinetic Field catches out onto 2, but the damage, it's not doing enough. Juan not even forced to use his ultimate, and the Mechanism is going to negate most of that. They are going to be able to purge off the lasso, and Jipples just can't do anything. Glimpse back going to be a little bit annoying for Boreal, and the Lich is dropping low, but for now that's 2D's entire teamfight kit. Bar the Reaper's Scythe, there is absolutely nothing else that they have going their way, and with a salve up on the Lich, then KVH is chilling around at a decent amount of HP, they can rinse and repeat and go for even more. This tier 2 tower in mid is probably not long for this world. What can TWDI actually do to stop this? Huh. Tier 2 tower, it looks like it's gone. 747 is going to find the angle. He gets a creep wave as well as kicks. Not getting that many spins. 1, 2, 3. Lich Chain Frost going to be committed. The Reaper's Scythe going to land on the Axe, but that hardly does any damage. Lich Chain Frost stolen by the Rubik is going to be returned in the enemy team, killing off the Viper. And it's a double kill for We Lost GG. Glimpse back in the 747 under a tier 2 tower inside the kinetic field. And that's going to be Boreal losing yet another hero. And all they lose in return is the Phantom Assassin. I suppose that's the question of what they're supposed to do. Rubik gets a clutch steal. It's not something I was expecting in particular, but nice positioning for We Lost GG is going to net them a nice teamfight advantage. And a huge swing it's going to be too, since they were sitting on such a disadvantage when it comes to gold. Unfortunately enough for them, the Phantom Assassin was not alive to benefit from all of that, but they find themselves a new lease on life. And that's exactly what they need to do. And even further, they deny the tier 2 tower 4 HP. Come on, Disruptor, you can do it. His right click's not being the most threatening of things, but Disruptor eventually going to be able to take that gold away from Boreal, and maybe this is just enough space for them to take the next engagement or make this game a little bit more interesting. The gold swing is not going to be that much, but at least they've stemmed the bleeding for now. 5,000 gold. And the experience is really where it starts to show. It's only 1,000 lead towards Boreal. Surprisingly enough, mostly benefiting the supporting cast of TWDI. They'll set their sights down towards bottom. We still have yet to see the Batrider lasso actually accomplish much of anything. And, well, it's going to cut the creep wave, and that's about all it can do. Tier 1 tower down towards bottom, not going to be defended wholeheartedly by Boreal. In fact, they don't have a glyph, so it's not going to be defended at all. Tier 1 tower is going to fall, and the tower destruction given the way of the creeps. More gold going the way of Boreal. Boreal, speaking of them, they're going to be pushing down the mid lane. They have an Axe Illusion, so Morphling can join the fray at any given moment, but TWDI are really interested in defending as long as they don't go straight up high ground. They are going to TP back now, maybe a little bit prematurely. Let's see how this goes down. They ping out the Phantom Assassin up towards top, and she farms up creeps. But Gix probably needs to get out of there. Let's see. Going to go over to the trees and then TP out cleanly. Not much that you can do about that there. Goes down towards bottom, and now the whole force of TWDI is grouped up and ready to fight. Morphling, although he does have a Lincoln Sphere up, in and of itself, it's not the scariest of items, and although he probably won't die unless he gets bashed to death or crit to death by the Phantom Assassin, a lot of that's up to luck, he's also not going to be doing that much. The waveforms are nice and all, but TWDI have found themselves a nice little bit of wiggle room. And this Rubik is also going to be working towards the Blink Dagger of his own. We lost GG after that last fight, getting a double kill. He's going to be well on his way towards it. A good click for support Rubik. Alrighty then, Boreal set their sights up towards top, but Axe has really started stalling out. It's not a hero that you want to stop fighting on. He's so strong at this point in the game and is able to solo kill people if he gets enough creeps behind him, and inside the team fight is an absolute menace. Hard to bring down and does a lot of damage in return. Can't ask for much more. TWDI are going to get their tier 2 tower up top pressured, but in the meantime they look down towards bottom. The silence on the ground might be enough for Tiburon. No. He's going to be able to replicate over towards the right of the map and TP away cleanly to his home. Unfortunately for them, just lacking a little bit of lockdown. They have to throw everything and the kitchen sink at him and get nothing. So, space created by Boreal, I suppose. Tier 2 tower is going to fall up towards top after that nice escape from the morphing. If they lose the morph there, maybe it's a close to even trade. But with the morph surviving, it's really great for Boreal themselves. Taku is going to find a blink dagger of his own. That's going to bring the blink count up to, I believe, 3 on the side of the Dire and 1 on the side of the Radiant. I suppose you can include blink strike from the PA, but not really. Speaking of said PA, currently is in potentially a precarious situation, is very close to some enemy heroes, whether she knows or not. Gix has some backup from the Power Rider, and it's unlikely Boreal will go high ground as they have no vision there. But instead, they'll set their sights onto Roche. 747 currently tanking it up, and Boreal might be able to take this one. Although it's not the fastest Roche, it is pretty sustainable with the yellows coming up from the Baton as well as with the Frost Armor coming out from the Lich. Now they bring the Viper in as well as the Morphling. Full 5-man unit, they should be able to take this advantage. Even though TWDI have a Bat Rider in Fury that can fight around the Roshan pit, not when you have the Baton there, and although he can get vision, it looks like they're just going to try to put as much pressure on the side lanes as possible, but they won't be able to get any tangible advantage. Tier 2 tower down towards bottom. Creeps are a little too far away from that, and this is going to be a double life for Boreal in one way, shape, or form. Probably give him the wave Tiburon. And there you have the Morphling. Is going to have a freshly acquired Aegis for them. Let's see. He's going to make his replicate of it. Looks like he wanted to make the Axe duplicate, but it looks like Axe was just a little bit too over-eager to farm these Ancients before he could do so. Next goes down towards bottom. Blink TP out is going to keep him safe as we have a pause coming out from the Lich. Well then, looks like we are having some sort of lag issue coming out as US East is going to have some of its hiccups. It happens, you know. Good old US East. I suppose while we're paused, we can take time to realize how ugly this Black Dragon is. It's not something you look at very often, but man, I think he could probably use some lovin'. Yeah, I definitely would love to see some of these creeps remodeled. The older ones especially look like they're remnants of Alpha, especially some of these attack icons. What is that? It's a flying meatball. Yeah, definitely looks like it's a remnant of the beta. Probably is. Maybe even Alpha. Who knows? TWDI. This game has slowed down by quite a bit. We've been stalled out at about a 5,000 advantage towards Boreal, and although that's nice and all, they haven't been able to get anything tangible until now. With the double life on Morphling, they can play quite a bit more aggressively, but maybe they just wait for that next major item up on the Morph. If he wants to just straight up fight, maybe a Manta style is in the works for him, but I think going for the shotgun this game is pretty darn good against TWDI's team, especially when you go for a Basher and a Helmet of Dominator on Gix. Phantom Assassin's not going to have the BKB for quite some time, and you have a head start towards that Ethereal Blade, and worst case scenario, defensively, you can always use it on yourself or the ally that the PA is focusing, and PA can really do nothing about that. Defeasal PA seems a little bit far-fetched. At least this game, of course. Alrighty then. What we're actually paused for, I have no idea. I'll go ahead and check the ping of everybody involved. Looks like that's fine. No packet loss. Yeah, who knows? Hopefully it gets itself sorted out. Okay then. As far as the next move for both teams, I think that waiting for that next item for Tiburon is fine. They can still play decently aggressive on the Axe, maybe take a little bit of farm away from the enemy team like they're doing now. They have a BKB up for him, however, so maybe Boreal are going to put this BKB to very effective use up against TWDI. Even though in theory, Phantom Assassin can get a lot of physical damage out unless the crits come out for her. It really doesn't feel like there's going to be enough. G comes out from 747. And well then, hopefully the G is going to come out from TWDI as well. G, Jipples, we're ready to go. And we will resume. TWDI are a little bit spread thin right now as they have previously tried to make as much advantage of Boreal going for that Roche as possible. That's 747. As I said, with that BKB, it looks like Boreal might be able to just make a group up. He's going to blink aggressively, bumps into the Bat Rider, acts low, 420 HP. Not able to find anything with that TP out from 747 is going to keep him safe. His Bat Rider has booked it towards the left. DD Rune spawns up towards the top of River's spot. Nobody's actually going to find that. He is going to pump the KVH in mid. Viper struck up. Jipple's going to be forced to TP out. Not exactly a move the Bat Rider wanted to take, but is kind of a necessary evil, especially without that Force Staff. Your hopes of cutting out the Viper at this point are very limited, if any at all. TWDI down a TP on their Bat for quite a long duration, about 50 seconds now. They are going to be losing a decent amount of their fighting potential, or at least pickoffs, when the Abaddon isn't involved, but we have stalled out a little bit. Boreal again going to set their sights on this mid lane with no other tier 2 towers to take. I suppose it's a fine move at that. Maybe they decide that going high ground now is probably the best of decisions, and not wanting to get that Phantom Assassin any more space. 747 sitting on the front lines with his BKB up. Morphling can come in at the drop of a hat, although now his Replicant has expired, so he is probably going to have to make his way over towards his team. Going to bump into Chicks as they are farming up inside the same woods. He'll snag these creeps over, and thank Phantom Assassin for a little bit of an easier job. TWDI currently grouped up inside their woods as Boreal are attempting to put this push together. The DD Rune up towards top would help them quite a bit if anybody actually spotted that out. Currently the Dire are the only ones to have vision of it, and it looks like Boreal aren't going to check it at all. They're just going to put together a 5-man unit and look to make a fight happen. Firefly on the ground for a little bit of counter push, although this is going to put it on cooldown and make it a lot harder for the Bat Rider to jump if it wasn't hard enough already. The Viper going to be standing inside the fire to add insult to injury. Just every once in a while, the corrosive skin canceling out Blink Dagger is actually pretty darn huge, making it so he can't feasibly jump the Abaddon. You do have a split pushing Necrophos down in the bottom lane for TWDI, but the ability of this Necro to put damage on a tower is very limited. And although he can do this, the best he can hope for is tier 2 tower down towards bottom when his high ground is being pressured by Boreal, though. Consistently pop the Lincoln Sphere of the Morph. And Strength Morph stolen by the Rubik. Going to be a nice tool to have at his disposal. He's going to make his way back towards base as he completely depletes his agility pool. Probably going to buy a casual ring of protection, I think, at this point is probably a decent pickup, but Boreal are completely stalled out, and they decide that they can't actually put any more pressure. Tier 2 tower down bottom is still standing, but takes a third of its tower health in damage, where Boreal really don't accomplish much in mid. Morphling is going to be working towards that F-Blade next, has the Ghost Scepter all ready for Tiburon, but Boreal are slowing down, and that's unfortunate for them. Right now, this game is game momentum. Lasso back on the axe in mid, however, they're going to be able to get the Scythe on him, and that's going to kill him on impact. Abaddon just not close enough to actually get off that Aphotic Shield to purge it off, and they're just a little too fast on the fingers. Force Staff is going to make sure that initiation succeeds, and Xuan, without a similar mobility item, couldn't help. It's going to end up being a clean kill for TWDI that I didn't think they could do, or pull off. Unfortunately, I'm not able to actually hit that kill recap, but either way, it's going to give a lot of gold and experience towards the PA as well as the Necrophos in particular. BKB on the PA and Aghanim Scepter up for the Necrophos will be huge pickups for TWDI. And, well, this game is looking eerily similar to kind of what we saw in game number 1, where one team finds themselves an early advantage, but then ends up turning up the Radiant Vision, excuse me. But TWDI are currently stalling out and finding themselves a little bit more momentum where they're able to fight, and this Axe is really losing it all. 422 on the kill score. He hasn't been able to find anything for the longest of times. And right now it feels like Boreal, they want to get that Ethereal Blade up for the Morphling and secure themselves another Aegis. It's actually going to be a pipe build for the Abaddon. Although it's nice, I really would have liked to see a Force F on Xuan, I think most importantly. Up against TWDI's team, I think it's a really good item, and just in general, a really useful tool. And maybe leave the pipe to be picked up by somebody else, namely Axe. I think it's always nice to have a pipe, don't get me wrong, but I think it's a little bit lofty a goal for the Abaddon, and he probably could have gotten a little bit more now. Lich going to die down towards bottom, or rather towards mid, with the lasso kill from the Bat Rider, and now this Bat is starting to pick up some kills here and there. Now being involved in 2 after a long period of passivity, although you'd love, in theory, to be able to use that lasso off of cooldown to get your kills. He's finally found himself a couple picks here and there, with the Abaddon's not able to purge off that lasso itself. And that's more gold for the PA, even though it's not the most important of kills. It's just a support Lich after all. It's still a pretty high leveled one. At level 10, they are going to be very happy with the experience that they picked up. Aphotic Shield going to be stolen out by the Rubik, and well, what do you know? Now you have that tool on TWDI's side, and this Rubik play definitely has been pretty impressive, especially that fight mid, which really has been the biggest fight in the longest of times. Not any large-scale engagements that come immediately to mind. 747 going to farm up some neutrals, but this Axe isn't doing much at the moment. And isn't able to find much. Phantom Assassin, her item build's actually going to be pretty peculiar. It's going to be into a Yasha item. I can't say that I like it much. Axe, playing things a little fast and loose, is going to survive, I think. Blink Away is going to keep him completely safe, but probably biting off a little bit more than he can chew. Nothing that a Viper can't handle, but if there was anybody close, that could have been a very embarrassing moment for him. But I think just going for a BKB, or maybe even finishing the Satanic, would have been a little bit better than going for a Manta or an SNY. Only time will tell. Right now the Phantom Assassin is doing quite a lot of damage. Okay then. Drawings on the map coming up from TWDI is they want to maneuver around towards the Roshan pit. Although Rosh himself isn't going to be out for quite some minutes, at the very least a minute and a half. Looking for a gank right now is a pretty decent way to go about doing things. It is the Ethereal Blade up for the Morphling, however, and Boreal might be looking to do the same. They're contemplating going for this Invis rune. They are going to pick it up. The gamble is going to pay off as there is no Radiant Vision close, and this might spell the end of KBH's life. Feeling very comfortable over at the large campus, going to get Blink Lassoed, no Abaddon close, and that is going to be pulled back into a Stag Storm. KBH is tanky as all hell. He is going to eat a Viper Strike returned by the Rubik, but now the call coming in from 747. We lost GG, might be losing his life very easily. One makes it back to the base with a slick TP out. TWDI, they commit a couple of spells and don't find anything in return. Underestimating how tanky that Viper really is, and also something that I did. In all honesty, the Aghanim Scepter Mechanism Power Treads, even at this point, is really hard for TWDI to get through, especially without the Phantom Assassin present. And now Boreal, with that pickoff, are going to think again about going high ground. They will have a replicate of the Morphling. It's the Lich this time around, and he's going to be at a phone call away if they actually want to bring him in anywhere. Morphling is up towards top, going to drop a waveform to just scare away the Necro, forcing out the Blink. The high ground push is already commencing. Axe and company on the front lines, ice armored up by the Lich, and now they bring the Morphling to. Tiburon is needing a little bit of mana, but is going to receive that from some of his fellow teammates. And now Tier 3 Tower is going to be slayed to fall, as Boreal are going to find that last hit for themselves, and extra gold in their pockets. This still can't be defended if TWDI are able to stop them from going for the melee barracks, but it really doesn't feel like they're going to be able to do so. Let's see, Blink Call over on the right side, dunk one onto the Disruptor, now looking towards We Lost GG, obliterated by the Ethereal Blade shotgun combo. Melee barracks dies, and even though you get a dagger crit onto Schwan, this is the end of middle lane in its entirety. And Boreal should be able to walk away knowing that they did a good job, even though they stall out for quite some time. It's really just these small openings. Like, look at that. You wouldn't think that there's, just by looking at that graphic, there's something that huge that they're actually able to capitalize on, but it's really just that one pickoff. Right there. No, not there. That's them killing the Lich. Either way, which one was it? It was the fight inside the jungle, rather. I think that's a better way to put it. Rather than looking through the little event log. The Viper surviving up against that 4-man gank is going to be huge for them. Boreal find a spot where there's no fighting power on TWDI. They have all of their kit spent on this Viper who hardly gets scratched by it. They have a Mantis Style up on the PA, but honestly, I don't see this item carrying them through, or at least doing them very much. Yeah, we'll just have to see. Gix, I think a lot rests on his back, and even more rests on his ability to get crits and bashes. Without those, them taking a fight really feels like it's going to be very hit or miss. I don't see it happening on a normal day. They can push out this one lane of super creeps, super sized creeps, but more than that really isn't on the table for Boreal, and that constant denial of extra gold is going to be annoying, and that extra pressure is also going to make it a lot safer for Boreal to go into Rosh and push for further lanes. Roshan is going to be next objective on their mind, as 747 spotted that out. And it looks like they should be able to take a similar story to what we saw previously. All this time, they will be a little bit more tentative. They do have the full force of TWDI to deal with after all, and the Phantom Assassin is probably going to be here too. We might be in for a 5-man fight. Batrider over on the top might be able to find a lasso onto Schwann, or maybe even catch somebody out off guard. Who's going to go on? Viper Strike connects onto Jipples, canceling the Blink Dagger. They find the Lich over on the sidelines. Dagger crit. 4 staff away, however, is going to keep the Lich safe right into the Fade Bolt as well as Lift. We Lost GG steals the Frost Armor. Pretty nice spell to have at your disposal under normal circumstances, but not going to save you from the entire barrage of Boreal spells. We Lost GG finds himself a cute angle, but cute's all it's going to be. He's going to end up getting cratered by Tiburon, and now back in the Roche Pit they'll go, finishing what they started, already down more than a third of his HP. And TWDI taking a fight just got that much harder. It's currently 4v5 in a best case scenario. Firefly again from Batrider, but they should know there's a ward there. That's happened already before, where they get that high ground vision. Jipples is going to get his blink canceled. Now the Roche is going to fall for sure in favor of Boreal. Phantom Assassin blink strikes down to the low ground, but can't do much. That's your double life on the Morphling, and Viper strikes being thrown out galore. This one disjointed by Jipples. But yeah, TWDI definitely on the ropes here, and if they lose, it is going to be a clean 2-0 sweep for Boreal in this best of 2 series. At least if they go 1 for 1, they will have some sort of points to go for further in the league. And they definitely don't want to lose. Joint Dota League right now is a pretty big deal, even though they're only in Division 2. Division 2 is still full with quite a lot of nice names, Boreal as well as TWDI among them. Boreal going to back off, at least for the time being. They'll have the Shivas completed up by the Axe, as well as Morphling maybe thinking about his next item. Well, scratch that. Purchasing up his next item. Full BKB on Tiburon as well, and now I think it's time to go high ground. 10-second BKB, you can't ask for much more, and unlike last game, Aghanim Scepter is a distant dream for this poor Disruptor. All he has is Arcane Boots and Stick to it is his name. They've given all the extra farm to the Rubik that they could spare into his 4-staff and Blink, and although that's nice and all, Morphling is not going to be shut down in the slightest in this next fight. He has excuse me, the Lincoln Sphere for the lasso through BKB, or for the Reaper Sight. No matter which one he blocks, it's going to be huge. As well as the Aphotic Shield to take off the lasso. Up towards top, Ethereal Blade shotgun combo into Gix. He'll turn around for the Morphling, but that's going to force Phantom Assassin all the way back home. DP there by himself, and honestly, this Morphling lost nothing. Blink forward onto the Rubik, though glimpsing back, the BKB's going to stop that in its tracks. We lost GG, 4-staffed out, they're going to look for the lasso. They catch out the Axe, and the Abaddon's not anywhere close. Underneath the tier 4 towers. 747 still standing strong. They'll Staffling dagger him up. He's at 400, 500 HP, looking for the crit. They just can't find it. Reaper Scythe flies through the pipe, as well as the Aphotic Shield are going to be eaten through. The rest of the fight going on the sidelines. This Gix is man fighting up against TT and company, but just can't win it. This is going to be a second lane going towards Boreal. Phantom Assassin has no buyback. And it really feels like this might just be GG. TWDI, it doesn't feel like they have much left in the tank. Static Storm, Kinetic Field catches a bunch, but BKB on Morphling, he doesn't care a lick. And that's going to be GG. Called out by Mario. Good game, well played by 747. And both of these games really showing that Boreal are a team to be reckoned with. Over the past couple of months, they kind of lost their way. Weren't looking very good, but it seems like this new roster is playing well. I quite like the decisions they've made in these games. And I'll look forward to watching both of these teams. In fact, in the JDL Season 5, excuse me. I've been Grant SV. I've been here casting on HeflaTV. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, as well as here on Twitch at HeflaTV, as well as the VODs. They'll be uploaded to youtube.com/HeflaMoke. As far as that's concerned, that should be about all of the information that you need. Thanks for watching and hope to see you in the future. But for now, that's going to be about it for Join Dota League coverage here today.